How can you build a world-class brand faster than your competitors while decreasing your marketing investment? It's easy. Just overpromise and overdeliver. Yes, you heard me correctly. Our next speaker, Rick Barrera, says that overpromising and overdelivering is exactly what Zipcar, American Express, Lexus, Google, and others are doing to lead their industries in growth, profit, and customer satisfaction. Rick is a marketing expert and the author of Non-Manipulative Selling, Collaborative Selling, and the Dollars and Cents of Service Delivery. His newest book, Overpromise and Overdeliver: How to Design and Deliver Extraordinary Customer Experiences, has made both the Wall Street Journal and Business Week best-selling lists. Each year he works with leading organizations such as Intel, Lexus, J.D. Edwards, Harley-Davidson, General Electric, Hewlett-Packard, and Verizon, helping them to reach new levels of excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from San Diego, California, consultant and author Rick Barrera.
Good morning. Whew, that was good. All right. So this was my first book on the topic of how to tie brand and customer service together. It was called Overpromise and Overdeliver. There were 2 editions of that, but I have a new version of that called Alignment: the Shortcut to Marketplace Dominance, which you all have in your app, and it's on the website, so it's available to you already. So I hope you'll enjoy that. Where are the volunteers? Can I have you all stand up, those of you who are volunteers? Okay. I just want to applaud you. Thank you. The credit union movement is, in my opinion, critically important to this shift that has to occur in financial services, and we just simply couldn't do it without the volunteers, so I just want to make sure we acknowledge you because I know that you're out there making it happen. All right, so you've got 5 key focus areas you've been working on, and the first one is developing people and talent, and I'm going to be doing a breakout session this afternoon on that I think you're going to really enjoy. But this morning, we're going to focus on the customer experience and the brand promise, and how do we bring those 2 together? So a brand promise is a very serious commitment. It is a very serious commitment because when you make a brand promise, what you are saying is that unfailingly, forevermore, you can expect to get this from us flawlessly. And that's why you see so many companies getting themselves in trouble because they don't really take it seriously. A brand promise is a very serious commitment. It's forever. And that's why most brands choose to underpromise and overdeliver. Talking to somebody at breakfast this morning, wait, we were taught to underpromise and overdeliver. You want to get a good one? Let's get it. Okay. See, he's going to take that, put that one in the newsletter. People are going to go, dang, I should have gone. That looked good. See, you do this one, and they go, oh, good thing I slept in. All right. So most brands are choosing to underpromise and overdeliver, but in a crowded marketplace, that's a one-way ticket to oblivion. Here's the core problem that you're facing. The financial services industry was the largest growth industry of the 20th century. Do you know that? You are in the most crowded marketplace on planet Earth. If you are underpromising while your competitors are shouting from the rooftops, you don't exist. Why millennials aren't hearing about you, you just plain don't exist. Right? They're getting on their phone offers and marketing and information from places that are relevant to them, like Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and whatever. And so you just don't exist when you underpromise. So a brand promise must immediately differentiate you from your competitors instantly. Which is why when FedEx came out in the 70s, they didn't say, hey, we ship stuff. Because guess what? Everybody ships stuff. Okay, what did they say instead? They said, when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight, bring it to us. Now, let me give you a little statistic, because I'm going to talk to you later about going narrow, narrow, narrow into a niche. When FedEx launched, what percentage of shipments in the U.S. were overnight? I'll help you. Less than 0.5%. And look at the business they built. They launched on a narrow front and then expanded from there. That's what you need to do. So you take this overpromise, this brilliant overpromise, when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight, and then you say, okay, how do I pay off on that brand promise at critical customer touch points where they can see me do it? In other words, I'm going to prove to them that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. This is an interesting topic. When I went to New York to promote this book to publishers, and I met with my publisher, Adrian Zackheim, brilliant guy, and he looked at me and he goes, I've read this, and he goes, you're basically, like, this whole book is really do what you say you're going to do. And I said, yeah. He goes, but that's not new. And I said, no. So just quickly, Adrian, give me 10 companies that do that really consistently. And he said, I'll publish your book. Because he couldn't come up with 10. So how did FedEx do it? First touch point, okay? So 3 touch points. This is the formula. You're going to create an overpromise, then you're going to touch point 1, touch point 2, touch point 3. They're all going to be aligned on that message. What comes out the other end is, wow, customer service, customer experience, member experience, and then that's what drives word of mouth. And they're going to use your overpromise to drive that word of mouth. So here's the FedEx formula. Touch point 1, FedEx put technology, okay, you're going to laugh at this, technology, it's the 70s, into their phone centers. So that when you called FedEx, you know, your package, you go, oh, I need this overnight, I'm going to call FedEx. When you dialed, they actually picked up the phone, they answered the phone before it rang. So you dialed, they go, FedEx, how can I help you? My God, you people are fast. Okay, notice they haven't done anything yet, really, right? They haven't picked up your package, but wow, that customer touch point. Whew. Touch point 2, they taught their drivers, when you get out of the van, you just trot on up to the door, hey, I'm here from FedEx. What's your impression? These guys are hustling. Okay, now let me ask you a question. You know, step back, be operations. Is my package going to get there any faster if he runs to the door or not? No, the plane's leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't matter how fast he runs in between. Well, then why do they have him jog to the door? Because they create a perception that these guys are hustling. They're going to take care of my package. Okay, touch point number 3. They chose as their symbol an airplane. What does their competitor drive? A brown truck. So let me just ask you, just intuitively, like just, you know, subconsciously, if your job is on the line, if the contract is on the line, if the package absolutely, positively has to be there overnight, should I give it to the guy with the plane or the guy with the truck? Do you get the genius of this? But they didn't stop there. They said, okay, we gotta really, send a message. We gotta launch this brilliant brand in a way that people can really sort of understand that, we're kind of quick, we're fast, right? We're all about speed. So they did a couple of really interesting things. I want you to look at the logo on the plane. Look at the space between the E and the X. How many of you never, ever have seen that little arrow before? Anybody? Okay, nobody will admit it. Usually about half the audience are going, what arrow? Okay, it's subliminal, right? But it's there. It's that little forward-moving arrow, part of the logo. And then they hired John Machida to tell their story.
Okay, Eunice, travel plans. I need to be in New York on Monday, LA on Tuesday, New York on Wednesday, LA on Thursday, New York on Friday. Got it? Got it. So you want to work here? What really makes you think you deserve a job here?
Well, sir, I think on my feet I'm good at figures and have a sharp mind.
Excellent. Can you start on Monday?
Yes, sir, absolutely, without hesitation.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And in conclusion, Jim, Bill, Bob, Call, Fred, Load, Dork, Abe, and Ted. Business is business. And as we all know, in order to get something done, you got to do something. In order to do something, we got to get to work. So let's get to work. Thank you for taking the meeting. Petey, you did a bang-up job. I'm putting you in charge of Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, perfect.
I know it's perfect, Peter. That's why I picked Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's perfect. Peter, may I call you Pete?
Call me Pete.
Pete.
There's a Mr. Schnittler here to see you.
Tell him to wait 15 seconds.
Can you wait 15 seconds?
I'll wait 15 seconds.
Congratulations on your deal in Denver, Dave. I'm putting you down to deal with Dallas. Don, is it a deal? Do we have a deal? It's a deal. I got to go. I got a call coming in. Hi, Doc. Just dealt with Don.
In this fast-moving, high-pressure, get-it-done-yesterday world, aren't you glad there's one company that can keep up with it all?
You got a deal. Good. I'm putting you down to deal with Dick. Dick, what's the deal with the deal? Are we dealing? We're dealing. Dave, it's a deal with Don, Dork, and Dick. Dork, it's a deal with Dave, Dick, and Dave. Don, it's a Dork with Dick, Dave, and Doug. Gotta go, Dave. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dick. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dan. Disconnecting.
Federal Express. When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight.
Okay, is that brilliant or what? And they are a huge company today. So this is how you do it, okay? Overpromising does not mean promising things you cannot deliver. That's called lying. Okay, you laugh, but I'm telling you, financial institutions do it all the time. They lie and lie and lie, and consumers are tired of it. It's why millennials don't trust them. They've been lied to. They've been dealt with the small print and the whatever. Okay? I had a missing wire this year. Huge amount of money, especially to me. Missing for 10 days. No, we sent it, 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 we sent it. And after 10 days, they said, oh, we didn't send it. Okay? I mean, you can't do it. This is what happened to United. Fly the friendly skies of United, and then they're dragging people off of planes on YouTube. It's a lie. Okay? So Dudley Moore in a movie called Crazy People a few years ago said, what if we just told the truth in advertising? Wouldn't that really solve the problem? And so here's the ad that he wrote for United. He said, hey, your fear of flying may be valid. There are lots of crashes and people dying like crazy, but you should also know that more people arrive alive on our flights than on many others. So if you have to fly, fly us. Most of our passengers get there alive. Here's another one he wrote. The French can be annoying. Come to Greece. We're nicer. My personal favorite, he wrote for John Hancock Life Insurance. Well, we know you love him, but if he happens to die, we'll give you 2 Mercedes and a summer home. Wouldn't that be nice too? Okay, a brand promise is a very serious commitment. It has two components. The first component, on a scale from 1 to 10, how radically different is what you are offering from what they're experiencing currently? Payday loans at 34%. How radically different is that from payday loans at 396%? On a scale from 1 to 10, more or less. It's a 10. Okay, how relevant is that to somebody who needs a payday loan right now? It's a 10. Okay, so this is how you develop, how you score your overpromise is how radically different, scale 1 to 10, how highly relevant, scale 1 to 10, and you multiply the two to get your brand promise score. And that'll tell you how differentiated you are in the marketplace and how strong that overpromise is going to be. All right, and then once you've got your overpromise, you're going to look at 3 different touch points. How do I align them so I can create a boom, boom, boom impression in the customer's mind, in the member's mind? So for the past 100 years, Folgers, Maxwell House, duking it out, head-to-head competition in the supermarket to sell coffee to Americans. And then along comes Howard Schultz, and he says, hey, I have a different idea. How about if we brew the coffee for you and we sell it to you for $4 a cup? And Americans said, well, I'll try it. Okay, Howard Schultz's brand promise was very simple. It was perfect coffee. Perfect coffee. Or to put it a different way, different phrase, coffee your way. Right? You ever stand in line behind people and listen to the orders? I'd like an upside-down, left-handed frappe cappuccino, ice, but I can't even follow the words that, and people go, sure. They had a system and a process for delivering perfect coffee, coffee your way, okay? Product touch points. Any espresso shot that's not pulled in 23 seconds at Starbucks gets tossed. Why? It's not what? Perfect, that's right. When you buy a pound of coffee, they weigh it. It's got to be exactly 1 pound. Can't be 0.9, can't be 1.1 because it's not what? Perfect. They have the perfect environment. They did a lot of research. They said, how would you like to enjoy your coffee? And they had kind of 2 different sets of answers come out of that. Some people said, I like to sit at a table. I like to be outside. I like to spread out my newspaper, have my breakfast, have my coffee, right? There was another whole group of people said, coffee is all about kicking back. I want to be on the sofa or a nice comfortable chair. I want to put my feet up on the, who said ottoman? You're having coffee. You put your feet up on the coffee table. Thank you very much. It's like a Rorschach test, but I'm not sure what it proved. Anyway, so what do? They built both environments so that you can have perfect coffee your way. They manage the smell in the Starbucks. There's no perfume or cologne allowed to be worn by their associates. Smoking is forbidden, and all prepared foods are kept either covered or wrapped or in a case because the only thing you should smell is the perfect smell of what? Coffee, exactly right. Then they looked at their partners and they said, okay, how do we make this happen? We want passionate people who live and love the coffee culture, who like trying different kinds of coffee and coffee drinks, who like inventing coffee drinks, who like sharing their experiences with coffee drinks. Where are we going to find people like that? Oh, the couches. They're already here, right? And they started to create this coffee culture all across America. Training. I cannot stress this enough. I'm going to talk to you in a minute about extremes. And if you look at extreme customer experiences, the people who are winning all the awards and across all the industries, including you, that's really amazing. They do things to an extreme. Now, you have to admit, what he did was extreme, right? You with me? It's not like, oh, well, let's just be 10% different. It was way out there. And what you see in these great companies is taking training to an extreme. At Starbucks, you have to go to Coffee University, where you learn the history and the knowledge of coffee on planet Earth. You have to learn customer service skills, retail skills, how to use the cash register. I actually had a retail client. They lost 20% turnover rate all the time. You know, it was like constant, and they couldn't figure out why. And when I talked to the people, they said, I don't know how to run the cash register. It's embarrassing. They hire me, they stick me in there. I'm faced with customers, and they're yelling at me because they're in a hurry, and I don't know how to run this thing. So they quit. Isn't that simple? How to use the cash register, weighing the beans. There's a class on weighing beans. There's a class on opening the bag properly so you don't poke holes in it. Do you think they're leaving this to chance, or do you think they're creating perfection? They have to be able to explain all the Italian drink names to the customers. They have to learn how to sell an $875 home espresso machine. They have to learn how to make eye contact with the customers. And they have to take personal responsibility for the cleanliness of the store and the coffee bins. They have to learn to grind the beans, steam the milk, pull the perfect espresso shot, memorize all the different drink recipes, make drinks to customer specifications. In other words, if you can't brew the perfect cup, you can't work at Starbucks. So what happens if you touch any one of these many touch points is you get back the brand message of what? Perfect coffee. As a result, Starbucks owns the word coffee in the American psyche. And not just in America. I was talking to a German CEO who shall remain nameless, who said to me, you know, I'm going to hire you to come and speak to my group, but he said, I don't want you talking about all those American companies. And I said, is there something wrong with American companies, or what's the issue? He said, no, it's not that. He said, it's just that, you know, you're totally like, you know, American-centric. You need to have a global view. You need to talk about German companies, great German companies. I said, like? And he said, Starbucks, for instance. I go down there every morning. They make me a perfect cup of coffee. It's a really great company. You should talk about Starbucks. I go, okay. I'll see if I can work it in. All right, let's talk about Minute Clinic. I'm going to do 3 examples. I want you to see it's the exact same pattern over and over. Okay? Overpromise, align your touch points, boom. Okay? Minute Clinic, when they came out, had this as their overpromise. You're sick, we're quick. Anybody in here ever been sick? No, most of you. Okay. So here's what happens. You get sick. Okay. What day is it? Friday or Saturday? Can't get sick during the week. You're working. Okay. But on Saturday morning, you wake up and go, I'm sick. I should go to the doctor, but I can't because he's closed. He works Monday through Friday. He has to get sick on weekends too. So what do? You say, well, I'll wait till Monday. And on Monday, you call the doctor and you say, I'm sick. I need to come in. And they say, no problem. We got an appointment on Friday. And you go, but I'm sick today, and I have to go to work. Okay, what time Friday work? So you show up Friday. If you're still sick, they put you in that waiting room with everybody coughing on you. That's what doctors call marketing. And then they put you naked on that cold steel table. The doctor comes in, he checks you out. He writes you a prescription, which you now have to do what with? You got to go to the drugstore, right? Has anyone mentioned you're sick? You go to the drugstore, yeah, I'm sick. Okay, we'll be with you in 45 minutes. Feel free to shop while you're waiting. Okay, Minute Clinic took a look at this and they said, we think there's a better way. You're sick, we're quick, we get it. So what do? They have extended hours. Okay, it's 7 days a week, some of them are 24 hours. No appointment necessary. The whole process, start to finish, takes 15 minutes. Quality care for a limited list of ailments. I want you to get this. This is one of the core messages. We're going to talk about going narrow. There is a list, I call it the disease list, at Minute Clinic. It's outside the door. You can look at it. It says, if you have these things, we will treat you. Okay? If you don't have something on the disease list, go away or we'll refer you to someplace else, right? They narrow to a niche that they can serve in 15 minutes or less. Appropriate, no charge referrals for the rest. So if you have something else, they'll do the diagnosis and they'll send you someplace else. They actually, I think, possibly saved my son's life. I have one of my kids with me this morning, Dylan, but that's my other child. So my other child is, he's not a whiner, but he was, Saturday afternoon, he's looking at me, he goes, Dad, I don't feel so good. And I'm going, well, what'd you do last night? He's like, I didn't do anything. I'm just not feeling good. I'm like, okay, well, rest. It's Saturday. What am I going to do? I'm like, rest, let me know. So a few hours later, he's like, Dad? I'm like, yeah, I'm really not feeling well. I'm like, okay, you have a fever? No. Do you have diarrhea? No. Do you have throwing up? No. No symptoms, except I really feel bad, So I'm like, okay. All right, get in the car. I'm taking you to Minute Clinic. So we go to Minute Clinic. And they have 3 screens, 3 diagnostic screens. Very cool. They do the first one, and then they, take all your vitals and all that, and they fill all that in, and then punches the second one. It's a decision tree software. And then they ask you a bunch of questions on the second screen, then the third screen, they kind of pronounce upon you. Well, she gets to the third screen, and she says, he needs to go to the hospital. I'm like, what? She said, I'm pretty sure he's got pneumonia. I'm like, really? She's like, do you want me to call 911? Because this is really urgent. I was like, oh, really? I'm like, my kid could have died on my watch, right? Now I'm feeling like Father of the Year. So I'm like, well, no, the hospital's right next door. I'll take him over. So we got in the car. We went right over to the hospital. And I went in and I said, there's a Minute Clinic. Bang, they put him like in the back immediately and fluids and whatever. And they did his blood. They said, he could die. He was dehydrated. And I didn't know. So, really cool diagnosis. I appreciate them. Prices, really, sort of reasonable. They accept most insurance, and they have a guarantee. So if you are sick and they try to fix you and you're not fixed and you come back, they don't charge you for the second round. They'll figure out what's going on. They have 600 locations. They cover 27 states. They're in most CVS pharmacies. They are now because CVS bought them. And they have this cool little sign-in kiosk. So you sign in, you put in your name and your insurance information and all that stuff. But when you come back, it's pretty cool. You put in your name and your phone number, whatever. It says, hi, Rick, welcome back. Kept all that stuff. I don't have to do it again. Okay? And then I told you about the diagnostic software, those 3 screens. Boy, it's just fascinating to me how by the time they get to the third screen, they're, well, yeah, this is exactly what it is. Why can they be so accurate? Because remember what I said in the beginning? They narrowed. They're only covering certain diseases. You got to fit the parameters or we're going to refer you out. They use nurse practitioners. They're courteous, they're competent, they're practical, they're professional, they're quick, but most importantly, they keep their costs low, which means they can keep their profits high. They can open more locations, which makes them more what? More convenient and therefore quicker. Now, when the nurse practitioner looks at me and says, yes, you have a sinus infection, I'm writing you a prescription, where would you like to have that filled? CVS? Good answer, right? They push the button, it goes to the head of the queue. So she finishes the paperwork, I sign, I walk outside the door, they say Barrera, boom, and I'm out of there. You see how every single touch point is aligned to deliver on one simple word, which is quick. Here's what I want you to get about differentiation. I see this all the time. Here's the center line of the standard deviation curve, bell-shaped curve, center line right here. You talk to most companies, you say, we got to do something totally radical. We got to get way outside the box. We got to bust paradigms. And they go, all right, how was that? And I'm thinking, no, I think super extreme. And they go, okay. And then they go, it's not working. We're not really differentiated. Here's what you need to understand. If you don't get anything else I say today, it's this. If you are 2 standard deviations away from what everybody else is doing, you're just like 95.4% of all your competitors. You get that? Okay, as Seth Godin said, vanilla is taken. You got to get way out there. I was at the Henry Ford Museum in Greenfield Village this week. Man, okay, first world-class facility, world-class, blown away. I never expected to be that awesome. But you look at what Henry Ford did. Dude says, why don't I build a factory where everything's all in one place? We're going to make steel all the way to finished automobiles, and everybody gets a minute and a half to do their job. Oh, yeah, and we got to figure out how to break all those tasks into a sequence that all is a minute and a half apiece so we can make a car every 93 seconds. Question. Like everybody else or way out there? Went through Thomas Edison's lab. Way out there. If you want to be innovative, you got to get way out there, as my friend calls it, on the skinny little branches. And when you do that, you shatter the paradigm. You will blow away your competitors because they won't come get you. You think they will, but they won't, because they all have boards of directors and they're all going, no, don't get that, you can't, don't, right? They got attorneys. If they try to get even like a little bit out of line, the attorneys will get them right back in line. One of my favorite examples of just, boy, putting it on steroids. American Girl Place. There's one in Chicago, there's one in Denver, there's one in New York. There's a bunch of them all over the place. This place it's like no place else on earth. If you have a doll, and by the way, all these dolls have names, they have histories, they have books written about them. So they're people, basically. They are. You're not buying a doll, you're buying a person. Comes with a name and a history and costumes that are period appropriate, and I mean, mind-blowing stuff. When you go to American Girl Place, they have a 50-seat theater where you can watch plays about your doll and her character and history and her family and all of that take place right in front of you. And then you can walk the runway like a real fashion model. You can dress up with your doll being dressed like you or unlike you, and you can stroll the runway while the paparazzi, aka your parents, are photographing you. Then you go to the bistro. I love the bistro. This is my favorite touch point. Okay, why? Because it's all about the doll and her girl. Do you understand that thinking? So look at the chair at the bistro. That chair is designed for the doll. When the waitress comes over, she goes first to the doll and asks the doll, by the way, she calls the doll by name. How is that possible? Because they're people and they have names. So she goes to the doll and she calls her by name and says, "Hi, Kit, welcome to the bistro. What will you be having today?" And Kit answers. How does that happen? What? The girl answers, "Yes, thank you very much." Okay, all these people are going, "There's some technology. There's some thing going on. They got some fourth dimension thing." No, the girl answers for her. Okay? But does the waitress turn to the girl? No, the waitress stays focused on the doll. She takes the doll's order. And then she turns to the girl and she takes her order. And then she turns to the wallet and takes your order. Okay, do you understand the priorities here? Okay. After the bistro, we got to go to the hair salon, where you pick your doll's hairstyle and you pick your hairstyle and you both get your hair styled. And then, of course, you go to the photographer and you get your pictures taken, because you got to commemorate your day at American Girl Place. I mean, really, Dad, what is the price of perfection? Anybody want to take a guess? 500, you cheapskate. Average ticket at American Girl doll is over $600 per person. What do you think the margin is on that? Okay. Why? Because they pay off on their brand promise. Okay, we didn't talk about what the brand promise is. They got all these touch points. They got magazines. They got all kinds of stuff. Okay? We didn't talk about their brand promise, but I bet you could guess what it is. Anybody want to take a guess? Just yell it out. Perfect experience for your doll. Okay, I'll buy that. Okay? I call it Girls' Day Out. Right? Because if you think about, like, you know, what are their parents doing, right? They go to the spa and they go get their hair done and they get their nails done and they go to the fashion show and go to lunch, right? So that's kind of what I was channeling, okay? But they call it celebrating girls, right? But you get it, it's a girl experience, right? It's about the girl thing, right? How radically different is this on a scale from 1 to 10 versus Barbie and Bratz? It's a 10. Okay, how relevant is that to girls who like dolls? It's a 10. So, forward or backwards, it still works. You can do the touch points and then the brand, or you can do the brand and the touch points. But ultimately, they've got to be aligned. And if you do that, you shatter the industry paradigm. You put yourself in a whole new industry. Let me ask you a question. What's the definition of an industry? This is always an interesting question. What's the definition of an industry? It's a bunch of companies who all do the same thing. What's the definition of margin erosion? It's a bunch of companies that all do the same thing. I don't want to be in an industry. I personally like monopolies. They're much more profitable. You have a monopoly. Is it more fun? But is it fun? It's a lot of fun, and it's really profitable. Okay? That's what you want. You want a monopoly. So how can you create a company as revolutionary as Starbucks, Minute Clinic, or American Girl? It's pretty simple. Okay? You just overpromise and overdeliver. You too can shift from being just like your competitors to delivering an extraordinary, differentiated member experience. It's a choice. You just have to choose to do it, and you have to choose to get way out on the skinny little branches. You have to choose to lead. You will not look like, sound like, or feel like anybody else in the industry, and that can be scary. But it's also more fun than anything you've ever done. Stop trying to do it all. You can't boil the ocean. You can't do 500 products at once and be all things to all people. Stop that. Stop even thinking about that. He's talking about neighborhood by neighborhood. Let's get this right. Let's get really down narrow. That's what we're talking about. Pick your niche. Is it mortgages? Is it remodelers, travelers, credit products, used auto lending, small business lending, insurance product, the unbanked? Pick something and do something. Okay, the title of the book is a little confusing. It's called Overpromise and Overdeliver. It really should be called Overdeliver and then Overpromise. But that wasn't as catchy. You get that, right? So the first thing you have to do is design the overdelivery. You have to implement the overdelivery piece, right? Get it working for your members, and then you launch. Does that make sense? So that when you make the promise, you're already delivering on it. You're already over-delivering. Then you launch. I cannot stress this enough. You have to launch on as narrow a front as you possibly can. A teeny, tiny, itsy, bitsy, less than 1/2 of 1% kind of niche. You got to get really, really, really niche. And most people aren't willing to do that. They go, well, but look at all these people we're leaving behind. No, you will never get their attention. You can't get the attention of 10 million people at a time. You got to get the attention of a few people and build your tribe and get it going from there. Launch on as narrow a front as you possibly can. I want you to think about this as outbound only, right? So when I'm talking about launching and focusing and all that, that's on your outbound marketing. If somebody comes into your branch and they say, you know, I want to open a share draft account, take out a mortgage, get an auto loan, right? What do you say? Yes, we can do that, right? So I'm not talking about inbound. I'm talking about on your outbound messaging, you get very, very focused so that you're really penetrating. Remember this mantra, the narrower you go, the faster you'll grow. I got a whole presentation on just that. Trust me on it. The narrower you go, the faster you will grow. You'll be astounded at how fast. He started with one product. Now he's winning global awards. A few years ago, I had a chance to work with Washington Mutual, okay, and I'm sure you're familiar with them. Sleepy little S&L in Seattle. They decided they kind of wanted to blow things up, and we got together with their marketing team, did tons of research, and we really came down to a plan. We said, look, we're going to focus on 3 things and only one at a time. Not 3 at a time, 1 at a time, but in sequence. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on the first encounter people typically have with their bank, and we're going to get that right. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the most frequent encounter, and we're going to get that one right. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the most significant encounter, and we're going to get that one right. So we started with checking, totally free checking, no strings attached, no minimums, no nothing. 1.3 million new customers in 90 days. Then we went to totally free ATMs, 1.2 million customers in 180 days. And then we went after mortgages. We went from number 28 in mortgages to number 1 in 2 years. We went from obscurity to number 1 bank in brand awareness in the top 20 markets in the US in 5 years. Then it blew up. Biggest bankruptcy in history at the time, right? Mortgage crisis. So let's separate the marketing that worked from the lack of underwriting that didn't. Okay? Because the marketing story is nothing short of a miracle. Okay? The underwriting is nothing short of a disaster. Okay, let's talk about the unbanked for a minute, or the underbanked. I want you to think about these critical touch points. Cashing checks, sending cash to loved ones, big issue. Fees. Fees are deadly to them. You're literally, you're taking food out of their mouths. You got to really understand this. Identification issues are a big problem. And payday loans, which you already talked about. Let me put out a radical idea. Can I go 3 standard deviations out? Can I talk to you from here for a minute? What if you opened a thing, which is not a branch? What if you opened, and I'm calling it a thing because I don't want to put the word, like branch in your head. What if you opened a community center? What would be in the community center? Well, there might be childcare at reasonable prices, because these people really, really, really need childcare because they need to go to work. And it needs to fit the hours that they work, not the hours that are convenient for the childcare provider. What if there was a place where after school their kids could go and get help with homework or tutoring or whatever? Would this be a place where you might come and learn to trust people who are helping you? What if in that place there was a community center where you could have community meetings or community events or family events like a quinceañera, for instance? Would that be cool? And what if in that place over in the corner there was some financial education that was free and easily accessed? And what if, as part of that financial education, I could get a payday loan at a reasonable interest rate? Or what if there was a way for me to send money to my loved ones? Would that be a monopoly? Listen to the silence. The attorneys are freaking. Can you imagine such a place? People thought American Girl was nuts. You're going to buy real estate in New York City To serve dolls? Are you crazy? Yes. If you're not just a little bit crazy, you can't do this. Anybody in here up for crazy? Come on, stick them up. Yeah, 4 of you. Awesome. If you don't get way out there, you're not going to make this transition. You talked about adaptability, man. There is no skill more critical than adaptability. And if you think adaptability is going from here to here to here to here to here to here, you'll never get there. You will never get there. You got to be way out there. And you've got to start experimenting. And I love what you did. Let's quarantine that thing so it doesn't kill us, right? But let's also feed it and let it grow. One of my colleagues runs a bank in Colorado. Second largest bank in Colorado now. First bank. And he used to call me all the time and he'd say, Rick, our online is growing like gangbusters. I don't have enough money to feed it. And I said, you got to find money to feed it. What's happening in the rest of the bank? He goes, oh, the branches are killing us. I said, well, Jim? And he's like, no, really? I'm like, Jim? He's like, really? I'm like, which part's growing? He goes, online. So which part's not? Branches. Really? I'm like, Dave? I'm talking to Dave. I said, Jim? He's like, all right. And he poured more money into mobile and more money into mobile and more money into mobile and closed branches and closed branches and closed branches. And now, last I heard, they were second in the state of Colorado, only to Wells Fargo, and they think they're going to overtake them pretty soon. Started out as a quarantine little experiment, turned into second largest bank. Are you brave enough to serve your members? Serving people is different from pleasing people. You need to give them what they really need. That's what service really means. So how do you do it? You line up your touch points, 1, 2, 3. You get them operating. Then you get your overpromise in place, and you let it go. The bottom line is the shortcut to marketplace dominance is all about alignment. Thank you.